There it
Hello,
is.
Mr. Reeves.
Hello. It's Friday.
It's Friday.
Yeah.
Welcome back to another
Yes.
Democrat for Excuses.
All right. So what are we talking about today?
Well, we're talking about, fear of commitment, like giving our word to something and how that could become an excuse of not giving a word to something just to, there's a lot of fear around giving our word to something and afraid, like I was saying to you earlier, like for me, I think that people think that it's a ball and chain. If I say yes to this thing, then I'm stuck with, with it
Right.
forever. Um, and then people don't want to say yes, or like you said, don't. People are bad at RSVPing because they want to keep their options open. And keeping your options open, like I think too, like I get it, and could hold you back, could keep you in limbo for a very, very long time. You sitting home and
Right.
waiting for something to happen when the time is right now.
Yeah. Yeah, with our kids, this is one that comes up a lot. Like, someone gives a toy to someone else in my family, and then that person decides they want their toy back. And we got this from the Bible, but it's this basic idea of let your yes be yes and your no be no. Like, be a
Mm,
person of your word. And it's this thing. So like we're like, no, let your yes be yes. You commit to something, you say yes, you're in, do it, follow through. Back in the day when, like before, like legal documents were as prominent, when the West was being settled, a lot, 1800s, that your word was all you had. It
right.
wasn't just this document that proved this. It was like, he told me this and he shook on it. And that was like all you had. And so then if you lost your word or you weren't true to your word, it hurt your reputation. I mean, you
Mm,
wouldn't be able to, and you wouldn't be able to buy things at the store, all these things, because, oh, he's not true to his word, don't trust him. And so it really came down to, like your word. It was a really important thing, and I think that's something that has been kind of lost over the years. And now it's like, oh yeah, maybe, I'm not sure, just kind of hedging on things and not really like committing.
right. And also like, and I was just sharing with you earlier, like people do that in relationships, or like when they start dating. I was sharing with you, I was on a date with someone and we committed to going out, having, a drink, like a first date, you getting to know each other, all those things. And he picked this bar that I had no idea that was closing. So everybody who's loved this bar came there, and he knew a lot of people. And I was like, I didn't know that at the time. And I was like, he kept stopping every time we get, into the conversation, like, hi. It was the whole night. And I was just like, well, why did you bring me here? And I even said that to him. I was like, well, why did you bring me? He's like, oh, I didn't know my friends were going to be. I was like, you didn't know that people who love this, I was going to show up. And I was just like, I made a decision. I was like, this is not somebody who I want to be on a date with. I want somebody who I want to date is going to take the time and think about all the elements and be committed to being here with me. I want a person that is
Right.
present in that moment, and that he showed me who he was in the very beginning, that where his commitment was. Because you're always showing where your commitment lies. Even if you're like, and
Hmm.
like I was saying to you earlier, and this really hit me hard too, by my friend uh, who's been pursuing this career, and he's still in the same, like slowly, and he only moves if I say, listen, you're doing this another year, the same old thing. And I can't remember. Oh, I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we both work for the same company, and we were like both complaining about like our careers moving and watching this other guys who career we were working for like blow up. And he said, well, you're committed to something. You're either committed to somebody else's dream or you're committed to your dream. And I was like, oh shit, like that really hit me. Like, oh my god, like I'm spending so much time helping this other person's dream grow. That's where my real commitment is. And, and I was not dedicating enough, a lot of time, or finishing things with my career. I was like, I gotta flip this, because that was a real reality check to me.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because you have like this fear of commitment thing. The stereotype for me that comes up is like, the guy not being able to commit to a relationship, like, oh, guys have a hard time making commitments in relationships. But really, like, it's anywhere. It could even be, dating, like you were just talking about. It could be a friendship, of not wanting to commit to a friendship. Adult relationships are weird. Like just finding friends. When you're a kid, you're like, oh, he has a cool baseball bat. I'm going to be his friend.
Right.
Or he smiled at me. I'm going to be his friend. Or this is my friend because we sat together. Like, it's just this real quick commitment that kids are able to make. And as we get older, it gets more challenging. And we're like, oh, I'm not sure. And is this person going to fit my vibe? Do they fit with my philosophies? Now I've got political views, like all these
Mhm.
different things. We feel like we have to check off these boxes to actually have a friend. And so friendship can be harder to make as you get older. And I hear that from people all the time of like, oh, you don't really make friends after you turn a certain age. But I think a lot of it is really just that fear of commitment and that fear to associate yourself, because we look so much at how the friend reflects on us.
Yeah.
We want to we really want our friends to represent us well, and I don't know if I want to associate myself with that kind of person. Or what if they're this way? Or what if, what do we do then? And you get like these weird ideas. And so I think realizing like where this fear of commitment actually is playing out in your life can be a really helpful thing. Because even with where you live, or what type of job you have, or what you do with your time, all these things are, oh, I don't know if I want to do that. And some people say that they're really bad at making decisions. I get a lot of clients who are, oh, I'm not good at making decisions. Like, hold on a second. Let's talk about that. And so many times as we kind of dig into it, it turns out that they're just afraid of they're afraid of being wrong, because they feel like wrong affects like what people think of them. They're making a mistake, they're bad, they're not good at their job or relationship or whatever. And so they're just afraid to make a decision. And it really is just that fear of commitment kind of rearing its head. Because what if they commit and they're wrong? Like, well, then you learn something. I mean, it
Right.
really is this, like, it doesn't have to be the end of the world, right? It doesn't have to like, like be your status. Well, you made a mistake, and so you're a bad person, and you're not very valuable, or you're stupid, or whatever the thing is. But I think that's something that is kind of in that same vein.
Yeah, I totally, you hit the nail on the head, like that fear of looking bad. And I used to have that, and it comes up once in a while for me as well. But my leadership training, like you couldn't, like we had to give our word to something. And it was that fear. I remember like one point I was like one of the coaches in the program, and I was just like, you know what? My commitment is to these people in this program. So I'm going to do whatever it takes, even if I have to stand alone and push the people to get them to the other side of what they need to meet their requirements for the course. And sometimes I was afraid of looking bad. I was just like, you know what? It is what it is. You know what I mean? Like because I learned that I spent so much time worrying about what other people are going to think, how I'm going to look, and it was coloring how I was making moves, how I even would show up, how I even was speaking, so that I wouldn't rock the boat. I was always afraid to rock the boat, and I was just like, wow, like where else would that show up for me?
Mm,
In my own relationship, and that was one of the things that I was really working on with my like romantic relationships or even friendships and family. Too afraid to bring up the subject or bring up the thing that you see or say what I want or need, because I'm like, I don't want to upset the other person. I don't want to deal with the consequences with if I say something or bring this up, because I don't want to deal with their anger, whatever, whatever. And that's still based on somebody else's emotions or based on somebody else's reaction. I was dimming myself down, like my self-expression might be able to be the leader that I know can be. So when I really looked at that impact, I was like, damn, man, my commitment is more to keeping the other person calm, than like stepping into the person that what I trained for. Like, I spent all this money to, to be
Right.
this leader and this coach, and I'm not even like, being my word. And I'm pushing my clients to be this, high performance in their life. And here I am, not doing that. I'm dumbing, holding back. So it's like really looking at, well, where is my commitment? My commitment is to myself, or my commitment is to keeping not rocking the boat.
Right. Well, it's really interesting that you say that because, with the rocking the boat piece, I totally relate to that. It's really interesting right now. My kids are like first grade, fourth and fifth, and they're learning about relationships right now. And my learning in teaching them is that you have to learn how to be in relationships. And my kids were like letting people kind of walk all over them, letting kids treat them bad, and I was frustrated at first. I was like, "What do you let that guy talk to you like that for? Or why would you call that guy your friend? Like that guy's an idiot, like looking at these things." And and I'm mad at them, and I'm realizing they don't know how. Oh yeah, like you're a newer human. You're not very good at this. You haven't had the experience around it. And I think, what if I didn't sit down and teach my kids this stuff and they just kind of figure it out as they get older? And that's why you have adults then that maybe aren't that great at relationships. And so rather than looking at them and like, oh my gosh, what an idiot, he didn't figure this out by the time he's 35. Who cares? What if he's just like working on it and he never really got taught? So
Right.
that's giving me like a different perspective on that. But then the thing that we're really working on is really standing up for yourself, and standing up for yourself means just telling people what you want. It's not even that much, but it's that fear of rocking the boat. Well, why don't you say you don't like it when that guy just punches you in the back all recess? Well, I don't want him to not like me. And I'm like, well, you don't like him. He's punching you in the back all recess, And so it's like this thing of like, I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to ruffle the boat. I don't want to be noticed. I don't want to be, make a scene. And so that fear really holds them back from even just saying basic things of, hey, please don't hit me in the back. Hey, please don't, take my hat and run off with it. Those kinds of things. And so, and learning to be firm and learning to kind of just assert yourself a little bit more. And so that's something that we're working on. So we've got a $10 bounty going right now for anyone who stands up to someone. So I owe like $30 right now. They're getting it, but it's like these things that like we just kind of take for granted of, oh, you should just know how to navigate relationships, and really like it is a learned thing. And so as we talk about this idea of giving your word, go ahead.
No, but I love for me, when you like the $30 bounties, it's like you give them an incentive to be committed to something, to like
Yeah,
not committed to fear, but be committed to me, myself, be proud of myself, and not let like my confidence. My
hmm,
confidence, my self-worth is more important than making this person like me.
right,
Right?
right,
Because that is more valuable, that's going to last longer in life than learning how to be going under the radar to be walked all over for the rest of my life. Now I have my
right.
kids are stepping into the worthiness, even if the incentive is $10, they're learning about confidence, speaking up, standing up. I think that's really good. Great.
Yeah, no, it's been cool, but it's like these things that like we've just seen over and over, like our kids just kind of being walked on, and you're like, I don't know what it's going to take to get this, and they love money, so it's like this. It's just yeah, it's been good to even figure out what it is. Like I love how you just said that and kind of like just bluntly said, this is what you're doing, and I'm like, oh yeah, we are. But just kind of just thinking through like what does it take when we're in those situations, because so often it is those. It's the social things, right? It's the things that are like, oh, I don't want people to see me this way. We're trying so hard to control the way people see us. And we it's like you're right. It's like we just want to like just tell people like, well, this is how I am. And so many of us do that all the time of justifying things that we do or the clothes we choose or the people we hang out with. All this is such an effort. We spend so much time thinking about how it'll look to others. And it's really interesting. And I think even with the pandemic, there's been a shift away from that a little bit. Like people have gotten so like jaded and burnt out and discouraged and all this stuff that they have like, I don't care who thinks what of me. I'm going to do whatever I want to do. But they're choosing that person. Like I'm going to be this person who doesn't care anymore. Great. But you're just so you're aware, you're choosing that. And you're aware of that. And you want people to see you that way. You want people to see in that light. So we really are like so aware, I think, of how people perceive us and trying to control that constantly.
Right. I know you have, to go. And so, we're just here available for people to reach out to us and really help you look at those commitments. Because, I would pose a question to you like, what is your commitment to? And whatever your commitment to is the very thing that's holding you back or moving you forward. Like, especially when it comes to your dreams and career, whose dream are you committed to, yours or the job that you're at, in your relationship, whose commitment are you committed to, the relationship, or are you committed to the fear of rocking the boat? Like there's something there. Like, so, reach out to either Kevin or me to help you look at what's underneath all that so you can start living a full and beautiful life and have a full and beautiful relationship because you have somebody there to hold your hand and walk you through this.
Yeah. And there's no shame in that. It's
No.
actually like a really brave spot to walk into and step into and say, hey, I need some help. I don't know exactly where to go with this, and then work with someone who can help you with that.
Right.
It's actually a very, like, it's a very manly thing. It's also like a very like bold and courageous thing for a woman to do. It's great to
Right.
own like, this is what I need, and I need some help doing it. And that's awesome. It takes guts.
Yeah. All right. Until